Alright guys, so here is a video of something interesting, and we're going to get back to Transformers, don't worry. I haven't been real big on the studio series, like I might do Starscream and Blackout if they come out, or if I can find them, and I don't know. I'm just not real big on the movie figures. Apparently they're doing some good jobs, but I'm kind of just at the point where I'm done with that, because I always get them, and some of them are neat, and then they just kind of sit around, and they either get given away to Goodwill, or tossed, or sold in a lot. I mean, I'm not a real big fan. Like, I don't have room for the displays. So like I said, I'm Blackout and Starscream I'm interested in. Outside of that, I don't know how many of the movie series figures I'm going to do. Now Wave 3 of Power of the Primes with the rest of the Terracons has hit New Zealand. And statistically, it probably won't be too long before those start showing up here. That we're going to be into. I do have a Generation Toy Gorilla coming, so I'm looking forward to that as well. But anyway, this is something different. This is the Gameboy Zero Handheld Edition by 32Teeth. Eugene is based up out of Toronto. It turns out he actually watches my videos, which, hi Eugene, thanks for watching. And I didn't know this when I ordered this. But basically, so a while back, there's a RetroPie handheld. There's you use it like a Raspberry Pi, a little computer board. People use it to run emulators and all kinds of things. A while back on the RetroPie handhelds, I want a kit to make my own Game Boy Zero. And I started it, like, they'll be like this. And eventually, when I finally have the guts to get back to this, you can see I've melted this a little bit with my soldering iron. It basically runs, and like, you'll see what it can do, because this is the Raspberry Pi's in here. But like, this one looks as much like a stock Game Boy as possible. Bigger screen, new buttons. I actually have mine set up so the memory card, you have to unscrew this, but the board's been replaced, so this is now a memory card. I put the SD card on the board when I open this case up. So it even has its own little game cart that I can swap the games out on in here. Now, if you look inside, you can see it's not finished. I've started wiring some things together, but not everything is hooked up. And that's because my dog chewed up my USB hub, and that didn't help. I don't know why my dog insists on chewing up things that are not food, but and also there's a little this up here. There's going to be a micro USB slot. I'm going to kind of Dremel this old headphone jack out, and the little board that goes in there, I have to Dremel down. I messed that one up too, to fit around this screw post. And so like, there's just some parts I need. I still have but I got all the parts I need to make it. I am eventually going to finish this. I just don't know when. Some of the technical stuff is beyond me. It's got the L and R buttons here. They're little momentary switches in the back. So eventually, you're going to see this running on hardware like this. But I haven't finished this one yet. But that's just a little bit of background for what we're doing here. So I was having some issues with that. There was some stuff that I was just having trouble getting done, and I was frustrated with, and I kind of put that aside. And then I found this little kit from Eugene on Tindy, and I'll put a link to the site. And what this is it's very industrial. Let me pull this stuff out to the side here. And this is a very bare bones, all-in-one board. Like, you don't have to do a lot of the wiring that the other one does. It's two boards. You can see you've got the L1, R1, and L2, R2 buttons on the back here. And it's just momentary, it's just clicky buttons here on the front. Very, like I said, very industrial looking. It's hollow. You can see there's the battery pack sitting in there. And basically how this works is he's worked it out. Like, there's a connector here between the two boards. All you have to do to get this running is, one, you have to install the RetroPie operating system on your micro SD card, which you can see is plugged in here to the Raspberry Pi. And then instead of having to wire in all the audio outputs and everything into the screen, like that one does, the boards come with the screen, all the buttons, everything's soldered together. All you have to do right through here is you just have to solder the Raspberry Pi to the board. And so you basically buy this kit, you get a battery, a Raspberry Pi, and you probably have a micro SD card sitting around. And then the kit you put together, you solder it on, and you got a cool little handheld device. You can see it's got the Game Boy Zero. Now, I got the Plexi case, which, as you can see, is just this clear plastic cover for the boards. You don't need it, but it just helps protect some of those connections from getting touched or ruined or beat up if you want to throw it in your pocket. Now, there is a separate, it's 4 pieces. You get the one here, and then a little strip to go up on the top side of the board here. You do get a secondary front cover that covers the whole board and does kind of protect the screen. However, to attach this, you have to actually remove the glass that's already, this thick glass cover that's already on the screen here. And I really didn't feel comfortable doing that. Maybe eventually I will, but yeah, you can add this and then you can have one that covers all of this. Because as you can see, the screen sits a little higher than the plexiglass case cover here. But enough about that. That's the technical side of it. It's a really simple installation. If you have any basic soldering skills, like I said, all you have to do is, and it's a lot of pins, but you just solder the RetroPie. There's a power, but it's got a battery charger port right over here. That's built in. That's something you have to add when you're wiring up the whole kit. Not this kit, but the other kit, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's go ahead and turn it on. And it takes, you can see there's the Raspberry Pi booting up. There's a little power LED. And it takes 10-15 seconds to boot up. While that's booting, you can say that this is a 2700 milliamp battery. You can get up to a 3500, I believe, to fit under here. I wouldn't want to go much bigger physically because I don't want these pins puncturing the battery when you sandwich this all together. All right, it's booting up. We should see Emulation Station and RetroPie booting up here in a second. Usually doesn't take this long to boot up. There we go. Boot, 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 boot. Text is very tiny. It's hard to read some of this stuff. But it'll boot up. It'll run the Emulation Station. It'll bring you into RetroPie, which has a custom theme, which again is very industrial and matches the look of just this open board. It's really kind of fun. So bring it up, so now you see all the games. There's Game Gear games, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Mega Drive or Sega Genesis, Nintendo, and then Super Nintendo are the games that I have on there. You can run other things. Apparently this is capable of running PlayStation games. I haven't gotten those working yet, and that's why, again, why you have L1 and R2. I also I reconfigured the controls so like these are L1 and L2, and these are R1 or R1 and L1, and this is R2 and L2, just because I use these a lot more often, especially for the Game Boy Advance games, and since I don't have any games that currently utilize the R2 and L2 buttons, I moved them up there because when you're holding it, clicking these in without like pushing on the screen is a little bit of an endeavor, whereas down here, these buttons click a lot better, so I put those, I rearrange those buttons. You can configure themes, but like I said, you can go into like, let me go into Super Nintendo. I'm going to pull up one of my favorite games here. So we open up Nintendo, we come down, ETA Prime did a review on this and recommended Hagane, so I downloaded that just to check it out, and it seems pretty fun. Here we go. It'll take a second to boot, and then here you go. Firing up now. There's the Konami logo. And here we go. Konami presents Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, starring Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael, and Leonardo. It's Turtles in Time. Obviously, you can tell that. Go ahead and start one player. Now, you notice you're not hearing any sound, and I'll fix that in a minute. We're going to be Michelangelo because we're always Michelangelo. That's just how it works. Dun, dun, da, da, da. Oh no, Krang's stealing the Statue of Liberty. No! And Shredder's, okay, anyway. Ha ha ha, tonight he dines on turtle soup. Big Apple, 3 a.m. And we'll just beat up this foot soldier here. You can, there we go. I love it when I throw them at the screen. Anyway, yep. That's what I get for playing through the video. I was watching on my phone and not on the actual video game screen. And then you just hit select and then hit start to back out to the main menu. Now the clicky switch buttons on the D-pad especially make it a little difficult to play some games. you said I was doing okay there in Ninja Turtles. Faster paced games, or something like Street Fighter where you have to do button combos, especially like in multiple directions, can be a little. Oh, I didn't mean to go into that. Can be a little bit of a pain. It's more fit for games like more turn-based games like Advance Wars or Mega Man Battle Network versus like Mega Man Zero is probably going to be difficult, at least until you get used to using these kind of controls, because there is an adjustment period here. Here's where I find out if this still works. Okay, good. Yeah, I had to change the emulator I was running for this, and they're all on here. It just had to change which one it uses, but you can see there's Advance Wars running on it. So it's really pretty cool. Now, like I said, there's no audio natively out on this because it doesn't have a speaker built in. And ETA Prime, he did a review where he had gone in and wired up an audio jack over here. And I may open that up and find a way to do it, but you get, included with the kit, you get a little USB, micro USB to large USB adapter, which you can use to attach a keyboard if you need to set up the Wi-Fi or anything on the Raspberry, as well as a 3D sound adapter, which is bulky. And then you plug it in. And I like that the board is labeled. Here's the USB port, and this one just says no. So don't stick anything in this one. And you got an HDMI out up here, which if you want to hook this up to a TV. But you can see the 3D sound. You plug it in, it works. It's got a headphone jack here. And I've got I don't have a speaker, but I do have my studio headphones here, so we'll see how well this works. But you just plug those in. Be careful doing so. And when you load up a game, it should... I don't know how well we're going to hear it here through the speaker, through the headphones. But I'll see if I can't get some of the audio. All right, so note to self, when plugging in the headphone jack, plug it into the green headphone jack and not the yellow microphone jack. Now, you may not be hearing very loud music there because you're literally listening it through the headphones I'm holding up to the mic on my phone. If I plugged it into a speaker, you'd hear it better. But there is, in fact, audio. And like I said, ETA Prime did find a way to attach an audio jack wired in here somewhere, and I may attempt that mod myself. But because it's the one thing that I feel is missing, although it is nice that you get with the USB adapter, you get a little audio card that you can plug in and use with the Game Boy Zero. Because for the most part, and one, it's on the top. ETA Prime had one that stuck out the side, and if you didn't have a flat connector jack, it would stick right out here and kind of get in your way holding it. On the top, with a small pair of headphones, it really isn't too bad to have this jack in, although it is, like I said, it's a little awkward. But for the kit, it's $60, I think, for the kit, and $65 with the plexiglass cover, and which seems like a lot, but when you think about all of the work, because like I said, I've tried to put together one of these things from just all the parts, and this integrates so many of them into two boards where you just solder in the RetroPie, plug in the battery, and you're good to go. It eliminates a lot of the stress and hassle for not much more than the parts would cost anyway, and then with a very modicum amount of soldering, it works. So it's a nice little kit. I'm very, very happy with it. There is a Game Boy Pocket version coming. He's working on an all-in-one board for that, which would basically put the same type of emulator Raspberry Pi into a Game Boy Pocket shell. It would look like a Game Boy Pocket with the actual proper buttons and D-pad and all of that stuff. You will have to modify the case a little bit, again, just like I've done here with this one, drilling out the holes. I do eventually plan to get this one running, because I want to make it look like as much like a stock Game Boy as possible. I've seen some that have like LED lights to indicate battery power and have this hard assembled in, and then with a USB port inside the cart, it kind of runs up through it where you can't remove the cart. And I want to build one that is most like an old school Game Boy as possible, including these little hidden momentary switches for the L and R buttons. But yeah, for just a budget little easy build, this is a great little system, and I'm having a lot of fun playing with it. And I love the look of it. I love the being able to see in and see all the tech, and like I said, it's very industrial looking, and it's very cool. So thank you, Eugene. And again, I'll put a link to the Tindy page there in the video description. Thanks for watching. Like I said, we'll have Transformers again soon. I promise. I promise. It's just, one, there hasn't been a whole lot of third-party stuff coming out since Chinese New Year. I guess they're still ramping things up. So we'll see what's coming. And as for mainline stuff, we'll get Wave 3 and the Deluxes eventually. I don't know if I'm going to go for the Wave 3 Voyagers. I'm definitely getting an Optimus Primal when he comes out. But anyway, Game Boy Zero Handheld Edition from 32Teeth. Thanks, Eugene, for sending it to me. Thanks for watching. There it is.